St. Gabriel, Archangel Gabriel, is on his bended knee in courtesy, the courtesy of our God before a creature, the brightest of creatures, who took the place precisely of Lucifer, who once upon a pre-time had been the brightest, hence his hatred for her. In the Holy House of Loreto, in a dramatic exorcism, Satan, who was agitated and couldn't bear the place, was obliged to admit, under pressure, that his brother, notice, Gabriel, had been there. Therefore he was of the seraphic choir, right at the top. Now, since the Archangel Michael, who was not the brightest at that point, was given greater power and became the leader and rallied the good angels, this is his glory. He is a loser, a downer. He's not made it. That is what he wants, out of pure spite for us lesser creatures. He can't bear that we get a glory and a throne that he has forfeited. And we have one means of playing his game: pride. Pride. I will not serve. It's happening even in the house of God. Whereas the angels adore and worship according to divine modalities, we humans invent our own and disobey the will of God manifested in the clear precepts of the Church, in the instructions in the Missal and in the instructions from the Vatican. I keep getting complaints about liturgical abuses. It's as though we want to use this podium to excel. It's more of the same thing: pride. Pride also exists in the world, in all professional spheres, even in the classroom and sports field. Near our monastery was a famous case of conquered pride. It was a knight who realized that all the glory of the militia was nothing, and he put his sword in the rock, and it's still there to this day, up to the hilt. And we would go there on pilgrimage, San Galgano. And he, of that instrument of death, an instrument of devotion, for it became his little crucifix. And there alone he conquered heaven with other means. St. Michael. I went through the Purgatory manuscript, which years ago I translated, this week again to find references to St. Michael, and I found quite a few. So I'd like to quote some of them to you, because they might help you as they helped me. This advice came from Purgatory. You do well to pray and to get others to pray to St. Michael. You know, by the way, that the word is the word for humanity itself. Michael, who like God. He wouldn't even say his name, and it became his name. At the hour of death, notice, people are glad to have had confidence in some saints, for them to be our protectors before God at that terrible moment. And you know that that is a terrible moment. All eternity is in the balance. The balance precisely that we see. If you look carefully, it's there. And that's us. One day, nuda cruda, waiting for the judgment. And there's no court of appeal after it. Forever. Don't be afraid, she says to the other nun, who is also a teacher of little girls in the convent, to remind all your girls of the great truths of salvation. Now, of course, we mustn't frighten or upset a child, must we? Although we can teach porn practically in a school, and also other stuff which confuses a child from the beginning, I think you know what I mean. Some souls often need to be disturbed, and now more than ever. It's a false and incomplete doctrine to imply that it's all automatic glory, and an abuse of the teaching of divine mercy to say that it doesn't matter or to imply it. Because mercy has no sense outside the context of justice. You can't imagine the pains one suffers in purgatory. No one even thinks of it in the world. And what is more, religious communities forget it. That's why God wants prayer to be made in a special way here for the souls in purgatory. This devotion be inculcated among the pupils, so they in their turn may speak of it in the world. Now, in the Feast of the Angels, September 1879, we have this coming through during a retreat. We see St. Michael as one sees, in inverted commas, angels. He hasn't a body. He comes to purgatory to fetch all the souls which have been purified. This is interesting. He's the one who leads them to heaven. Yes, it's true. He's among the seraphim, the burning ones, seraph in Hebrew. As Monsignor said, he is the first of the angels in heaven. Our guardian angels come to see us too, but St. Michael is so much more beautiful than they. As for the Blessed Virgin, we see her with her body. She comes to purgatory on her feast days and returns to heaven with many souls. While she is with us, our suffering stops. St. Michael comes with her, but when he is on his own, our sufferings continue as usual. There's here a reference to the priest that has been sent to give their retreat. It is St. Michael who sent him to you. The community has received profit from it, but what is certain is that it is above all for you that he has come here. St. Michael, whom you love, and who has been protecting you for a long while, willed that it should be one of his missionaries that should come to know all that I've said to you. God has his designs in these happenings. You'll know them later on. You'll also later on be able to give him more precise news of St. Michael. There is on the map the sword of St. Michael, a completely straight line which starts here in Ireland in the Atlantic with Skellig Michael. Goes then down, there's an island I believe in Cornwall, isn't there? It goes down there. It goes to the north of Italy, to Piemonte, to the Sagra San Michele, a very dramatic monastery on a perpendicular mountain in the north. Goes down then to Monte Gargano, where the first recorded apparition of St. Michael is, not far from where Padre Pio was. There's also Mont Saint-Michel en route, and he appeared there on the top. He's always been around, He's also been very present in wars, and he's closer to us than we think. He wants us to cultivate a personal devotion to him. I heard on the grapevine, actually from Father Kevin here, that in America recently, after the scandal of the case of Colonel McCarrick, they actually reintroduced at the end of Holy Mass the prayer to St. Michael. It was dropped in the Universal Church in 1964, and people noticed that from that point on, it seemed that the powers of hell had a greater freedom to operate. Personally, I'd always say it at the end of every Mass, at least in private. Here there's a case which concerns a curious event. The English woman drowned at Mont Saint-Michel went directly to heaven. She had the required contrition at the moment of death, but at the same time the baptism of desire. All this took place through the intercession of St. Michael. Blessed shipwreck. Pius IX went straight to heaven. His purgatory was done on earth. He, of course, is the Pope who proclaimed the Immaculate Conception. She goes on from another point to talk about the struggles of people at death who are helped. The same is true of those who have been devoted to St. Joseph, St. Michael, or some other saint. It is then, as I've already said to you already, that one is glad to have an intercessor before God in this painful moment. Now this concerns the time, but it concerns perhaps also our own time, given the drama that we're in. St. Michael will intervene in the Church's personal battle. You know, by the way, that around this time, the Freemasons in Paris were very much linked with the underworld. There was the case that a Dominican obtained all the permissions to go in camouflage to see what was going on, and had an entry in there through a friend. And his friend whispered to him in the course of one of them in the Grand Orient at Paris, "C'est lui, it's him." It seemed like a man who was there standing before them. He would have had, however, if one looked carefully, clothed hooves, but he was there before them, old Nick, giving them step-by-step instructions as to how to go about destroying the church. He is the leader of this church, now so fiercely persecuted, though not so soon annihilated as these evildoers think. He too is France's special protector, and will help her to take once more its position as elder daughter of the Church. Because in spite of all the offences being committed in France, there is nonetheless a lot of good left. There are truly devoted souls still to be found in her. When is St. Michael to intervene? I have no idea. What we must do is pray hard for these intentions, invoke the Archangel, recalling his titles before him, and beg him to intercede with the one over whose heart he has so much influence. Now, what happens at the moment of death? St. Michael is there when the soul leaves the body. It is him alone that I saw, and that all souls see. He is, as it were, the witness and the executioner of divine justice. I also saw my guardian angel. All this is to help you to understand how it is that it can be said that St. Michael carries our souls to purgatory. Because a soul can't be carried, yet, nonetheless, it is true, inasmuch as he is there, present at the execution of the sentence. All that goes on in the other world is a mystery for yours. In the sacred mysteries, as one finds in the Eastern spirituality, there is a very thin frontier. We are handling something beyond ourselves, hence the correct mode must be that of complete self-effacement and obedience. To want to be seen, to want to be theatrical in this divine liturgy is to make a spiritual sacrilege. In Welsh, the word for sacrilege is robbery of the sacred, cysegol ladrad, taking the glory of God for ourselves. Precisely what Lucifer did. He wanted his own kingdom. One day an exorcist commanded them to go back to the place prepared for them by God. And the demons poked fun at him because he knew so little. God did not make hell.